Don't move to Myrtle Beach unless you understand this first. Before you move to Myrtle Beach, there are a few things that nobody ever really explains to you, and I'm going to be very honest here. Some people think they move here and they think, oh, this is exactly what I needed, different change of pace, so on and so forth, the sunshine. Others move here, and then within a year, they're adjusting in ways they didn't really expect. And this is not because they made a bad decision. It's because they didn't have a full picture going into it. So instead of telling you why to move here, because Myrtle Beach is really great, let's talk about what actually works and when it doesn't. I'm Lori Lee Mendieta with Century 21, the Harrelson Group. I work with buyers relocating here every single day, and there are a few patterns that come up consistently. Myrtle Beach is two completely different places depending on the time of year. This is where buyers are often really caught off guard. Many buyers who plan on moving here have vacationed here in the past. They either have friends who were living here and relocated, or they came multiple years in a row. Now, this summer, everything moves here. The traffic builds a little bit earlier. There's wait times at restaurants. The beach fills up really early mid-morning. The winter, it gets much slower. It's the same streets, completely different pace. I always walk buyers through this before they purchase. What summer looks like, and how those patterns shift through the year. These are the things that buyers really need to understand, okay? I love it when they finally figured out, okay, and now I understand what you meant. It's not a concern, it's just a lot of clarity, because it's one thing to hear it, and it's another thing to live inside of it. And so this is where the decision becomes more specific. It's not about whether Myrtle Beach works, it's about how do I want my day-to-day to feel in this area when it's the busiest, in the middle of the summer, because that answer tends to shape everything. Let's talk about one of the most misunderstood phrases here. It's 4 words: close to the beach. Because in this market, distance always doesn't equal access. You could be a mile away and it feels simple, or you could be a half a mile away and it feels like a process, okay? So why is that? Traffic patterns, where the bridges sit, public beach access points, parking availability, especially during the season. So last year, I showed 2 properties on the same day, one technically closer and one technically farther. The closer one, it took 20 minutes to get to the sand. The other one, 7 minutes, super easy. Same price range, totally different experience. So when buyers say, I want to be close, what does that actually mean? I want it to feel easy. And that's a totally different conversation. Now, this market has a lot of condos, a lot of HOA communities, and this is where things get more nuanced than most buyers ever expect, because not all condos function the same, even if they look very similar. Some offer very predictable type of ownerships, clear budgets, strong reserves, straightforward rules. Now, there's other ones. That's where things start to really matter more. How is the building being funded? Does the property qualify for certain types of financing? And another one is, what is the rental, how are the rentals handled? Is it short-term, long-term? All of those things make a difference. I had a buyer fall in love with a particular unit. They loved the view, the layout, and everything. It was fantastic. And then we took a step back and looked at the building itself. And the conversation definitely shifted, not because the property was a bad property, but because it didn't align on how they wanted to use it and plan to use it. So this is one of those areas where you don't see upfront. This is what tends to matter later. So Myrtle Beach is how people search. It's not how you experience it, because the Grand Strand is made up of very different pockets. North Myrtle Beach feels very different than Carolina Forest. Murrells Inlet has a very different rhythm, right, than Little River. Pawleys Island, they are a very quiet in its own pace by itself. Now in Conway, it is just expanded so much, Every different piece of Conway feels very different in itself. So here's where I see the disconnect. Buyers pick a home before they've fully chosen what they want or even how they want to live. They're more concerned about features and amenities and don't spend enough time looking at the practicality or even what I call personal utility. I've had buyers shift entire areas mid-tour, not because something was wrong, but because they realized this is beautiful, but this isn't how I want my day-to-day to feel. And that realization is everything. So the purchase price, that's the easy part to understand. What tends to show up later are the ongoing costs. So we've got insurance, especially closer to the water, HOA dues, maintenance exposure, depending on how close you are to the water and even property type. Property taxes are based on how you're planning on using the property. Is it going to be a primary home or even a second home, or even an investment? And this is where buyers are often surprised because those numbers don't always stand out in the listing. I've had buyers really comfortable with the purchase price, no hesitation. All right, but once we map out the monthly structure of ownership, that's when the numbers became real and the decision started to shift. Okay, because the goal isn't just to buy the home. It's to make sure that the ownership feels sustainable over, a very predictable amount of time. This one is simple, but it matters more than what people think. Myrtle Beach has a different rhythm. Some people come here and immediately feel lighter, less rush, less noise, more space. Others, they start looking for more movement. After a few months, neither is wrong, but it's definitely worth asking yourself honestly, do I want to be in the energy part of Myrtle Beach, or do I want a space to, or even slow things down? Because this is where the market leans towards simplicity. And for the right person, that's exactly the point. So when people ask, should I move to Myrtle Beach? The answer usually isn't about the house. It's about lining with your goals. Does this location support how you want to spend your time? This is definitely not a vacation. How do you want to spend your time on a regular Tuesday? Because when it aligns, this place works really well. And when it doesn't, it usually shows up in the small little things every single day. So if you're starting to explore a move and you want help thinking about how certain areas, what those traffic patterns look like and what the density is, I'm always here to help. Or if you're still narrowing things down, I'd watch my next video where I break down how to choose the right area along the Grand Strand that's perfect for you. Thanks for watching The Logic Behind the Lifestyle. I'm Lori Lee Mendieta with Century 21, the Harrelson Group, and I'll see you next time.